What do we want? What do we want now?
My name's Markale, I am 18 and I was part of the school strike for climate last year. I think the school strikes are really important because they show the power of youth in today's society. They are also just a great way to encourage action from the government, both in New Zealand and around the rest of the world, and show them that youth aren't just going to sit there and accept whatever the government do. We are going to stand up for what we want and for the environment and to save our future. I just had a friend message me and she's like, hey, there's going to be some poster painting for this strike thing that's coming up if you want to come along and help. Turned up and it turned out it was actually a full-blown meeting and kind of got roped in from there. Yeah, that very first meeting I went to, we organised the first strike in a very short period of time. So we had our first meeting, there were about 8 of us I think turned up. We kind of organised, we're planning this strike, we had absolutely no clue what we were doing. I think one person who was at that meeting had been to a protest before. The rest of us had never even been to a protest, let alone organised one. So because we were a rather small team, especially to start out with, the roles weren't super defined. I did a lot of media, I organised things on the day, sorted out programs, occasionally took down notes at meetings, a lot of trying to get more engagement from other people. The strikes themselves are really exciting because you put so much of your effort and your time into, creating this massive protest that obviously we all felt really strongly about what we were protesting for, for the climate and to kind of make sure that our futures were going to be the most environmentally safe that they could be. And you never know until the day how many people are going to turn up. So for the very first one, we were like, oh, maybe we'll get like 50, 100 people, we'll stand there, wave some signs around for a bit. We had some speakers coming and then we'll all go home. And we had 5,000. The second one, we had about 3,000 people. And then the third one, we got told, we were estimating for about 5,000. Police told us we were going to get maximum 3,000 and we ended up having 80,000 people show up in Auckland. And the emotional roller coaster that you go on when you're waiting, and there's just 20 people show up and you're like, oh yeah, maybe this is it. Then another 20 people show up and you're like, oh yeah, and then all of a sudden there's this wave of people coming into Aotea Square. You watch the square slowly fill up from the stage. Everyone's kind of almost in tears because they're so happy, but also stressed, running around trying to sort out, who's speaking and where the microphones are and make sure that the right people are talking to the media. So it's really stressful, but it's also one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had. The most difficult things I think with the strike was, that we had to do school and try and get through. I was doing NCA level 3, which is super easy, but also trying to juggle the strike, which was practically a full-time job. I missed so much school just for strike, whether I was organising events or going to media interviews, because media have no concept of the fact that school goes from 8 in the morning to 3 p.m. in the afternoon. They would be like, hey, can we interview you at 1 p.m? And I wasn't aware at the time that I could just say, no, can we shift the interview? So it was really hard trying to juggle that, trying to juggle teachers who didn't necessarily agree with what I was doing. I was in quite a public role as someone who did a lot of media, so all of my teachers knew what I was doing, why I wasn't at school. Being involved with the strike, I think, has influenced my life a lot. So I'm on a gap year this year working and was meant to do some travel and some volunteering, but COVID-19 has kind of put that to a stop. But it has influenced my life a lot in the way that I see other things. I learned a lot from being an organiser, how to organise large events, how to deal with conflict that came up within the team, how to, help guide people and how to educate people about things to do with the climate and politics. A lot of just learning about, the government, how it works, how policies are written, things, how climate change works as a whole. I think I learned a lot and it's really influenced the way that I see things and how I act. I think really, do some research. If you want to be involved with the strikes themselves, be prepared to put in the work. I know one of the most frustrating things was we had so many people who were like, oh my gosh, that's amazing, we want to help out. But they turn up to like one meeting and then never come again, or then, feel scared to ask if they could help out with jobs. Don't be afraid to ask if you can help. Don't be afraid to ask for help as well. People are always, really prepared to tell you what you can do. Just do what you can. A lot of the time it's lots of little things. If it's organising a strike, that's great, but it does take a lot of work and takes a really massive emotional and mental toll on you as well as a physical one. So if you can't do that, just do the little things. Attend the strikes, submit things to Parliament, talk to your local MPs. It's really just getting those larger corporations and the government to pay attention to what's going on and act in the best way that they can.